Welcome back, everyone, to the Beyond the Score podcast. I'm your co-host, Matthew Supinger. Don't forget, this is presented by The Northern. Make sure to check out the website. There's plenty of articles there, sports articles, news articles, life articles, everything that you possibly could want to read is on that website. So big thank you to The Northerner for putting this on. Got my co-host, Alex Perez, over there. Alex, how are you doing today, man?
Doing pretty good. How you doing, Matt?
Doing pretty good. I'm ready to break down everything that we got going on today.
Got a whole lot to talk about.
Oh, yeah, a whole lot. Sports it's getting back into it, so got all the good stuff going on today. But, we got to do before we start even getting into the breakdown.
I totally forgot, yeah.
Colton, how's the Dynasty going, man?
Fellas, I'm glad you asked. Let me adjust this microphone. We have won the national championship, fellas.
Wow.
It was quite the storyline I just went through. I have to say.
Give yourself the applause if you got it back there.
Yeah, absolutely.
We do not have the applause.
Pat yourself on the back.
We'll work on it.
Give me the pat on the back. But yeah, I mean, it was quite the storyline, fellas. We went to the Natty in year 3 and played Georgia. Lost on a last drive, 2-minute drill. Came back and faced Georgia again in the Natty. Almost went undefeated, if not for a stupid fumble at the 20 at Oregon. We would have gone undefeated, but I'm just happy to have the Natty in West Lafayette, the first of many. And it was just a great week of ball.
What a redemption story.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of bouncing off of that, you were saying it's first of many. I'm sure you've heard all the news and all the rumors, all the talk that's been going on. What do you have to say to the haters that say, Purdue's not a powerhouse?
A one and done.
I say to them, just take a look at my Twitter.
Woohoo!
Just take a look at my Twitter.
Speaks for itself.
Man.
Speaks for itself.
Hung up the phone on him quick. So yeah, that's your weekly Dynasty update. I know everyone tunes in for that.
That's what they're tuning in for.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
I'm just glad they listened to the sports afterwards.
Yeah. They stick around, but come on now.
Yeah, pretty soon it's not going to be a podcast. It's just going to be like gameplay, his gameplay.
The Dynasty podcast.
I'll start recording it, bringing it in.
But yeah, Alex, what do we got on the docket today, man?
We got some NFL, NBA, WNBA, more along the lines of the Olympics, and then just what we want to talk about that we've seen from the Olympics that don't involve those sports and what we're looking forward to. So you ready to get in the show?
I was born ready, man.
Let's do it. All right, so the first thing we have on the docket is the NFL and the new Jordan Love contract. He just signed an extension for 5 years, $220 million, making him the highest paid quarterback in NFL history. What are your thoughts on that initially?
Highest paid quarterback in NFL history. I think if you didn't stick that title with it, I think I'd probably sit there and I'd be like, oh, that's, well deserving. He played a phenomenal, he played a great season this past year. But then, you add in the fact of he is like one of the highest paid quarterbacks in NFL history on a per year basis. And it just kind of is like, no disrespect to him at all, because what he did last year, it is kind of funny. I have in my notes, all the stats he had last year. He threw for over 4,000 yards. He finished 7th in the NFL in that. 32 touchdowns, which is second in quarterbacks. Only 11 picks, a 62.1 QBR, which is 9th. 64.2% completion percentage. He was 12th in rushing yards in quarterbacks and 10th in rushing touchdowns. Had a 3-6 start, went 6-2, took his team to the playoffs. And I have in here, with a receiving core that Hall of Famer Aaron Rodgers said was not good enough.
That's right.
So, not going to say anything there. I'm not trying to diss Aaron Rodgers. I'm just saying Jordan Love took that team to the playoffs and won a game. Granted, it was against Dallas, but, hey, Dallas is still an NFL team.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, he walks into Jerry's world, shuts the door on him quick, 272, 3 touchdowns. He just, everything was with him last year. He had all the heat in his hand.
For sure. Had
a tough loss against San Fran, but their defense was phenomenal. So I think the contract is, you look at the numbers with it, and you're kind of like, man, that's crazy. One of the highest paid quarterbacks, and he's only started, a year.
Right.
He has only started a year. But in that year, he looked like your guy. He looked like the dude that you want leading your team. He's taken a team that, before the year started, people were like, I don't know if Green Bay is even going to finish second in their division. I don't know if they'll finish third. And then it's like I think they were second in the division. Yeah, because I think Detroit won it. And it was like they looked like a really good team in the second half of the season. And then in the playoffs, they go in, they stomp Dallas. I think it was the first 7 seed since the new layout of the playoffs.
I believe
first
so,
7 seed to beat a 2 seed. So the money is everybody's trying to one up each other anymore in the NFL with contracts.
Sure.
That's just what it is. So the money, I'm like, nah, I don't know. That's a lot of dough to give to someone who's had one good year, but in that one good year, they were really, really good. But what do you think about this?
That's kind of my whole take on it. This is kind of just the reality we live in with quarterbacks in the NFL now. If you think that's your franchise guy, and I don't see any reason why they wouldn't think he's the franchise guy, then you're going to have to pay him around this amount per year. So I feel like the contract makes sense. Like you talked about, we saw him only get better throughout the season, and it's the first year starting. He definitely had those struggles at the beginning, but what quarterback is not going to when they in their first year starting? So the NFC North only got better, I feel like, over the offseason.
Yeah.
So I feel like this was very important for the Packers to lock up.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of on the same line of contract extensions, same quarterback in the same class, Tua, signed his contract extension. I believe it was 4 years, $212.4 million. What do you think about that?
It's about, like I said, just about what you think. If that's your franchise guy, it makes sense.
Yeah.
They have a dynamic offense in Miami, so you want somebody you can trust throwing the football to all the weapons they have over there. So, I mean, it makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Do you think it's good for him?
I think you were going to have to pay him. I think it is. I mean, that's a lot of money for a dude who, he went, 1-6 against teams that made the playoffs last year. So it is kind of questionable in that nature.
Yeah.
But it was was that his first year with Tyreek? Second year?
Second, I think.
Okay. Kind of the first year, I guess, of that whole offense being a whole together thing, and kind of him having the complete reins of the team, of the offense. I think he played really good. I think he obviously still has stuff to improve on, much like Jordan. But yeah, I think you were going to have to give him that money anyways, because it's like you're hurting yourself more by letting him walk than you are hurting yourself by giving him that money.
For sure.
But yeah, big extensions for quarterbacks in the 2020 class, only continuing to solidify themselves as Colton update.
All good. No, I just wanted to kind of chime in on this because I was looking at the stats before the show, and honestly, Jordan Love, considering like the beginning of the season, he struggled a little bit, getting into the NFL. His stats aren't that far off from Tua's, and especially considering the receiver core that Tua has, you would think it wouldn't even be close. But I mean, 4.624 for Tua as opposed to 41.59 for Jordan Love, and you go down, the completion percentage is probably the biggest difference. Love had a little worse, but again, he was first year in the NFL adjusting to it, and like by the end of the season, I'd say the Packers team probably looked better than the Dolphins team did.
Yeah,
I'd agree with that.
And I mean, bouncing off your point too, Tua finished with less passing touchdowns too than Jordan Love, which is crazy.
Yeah. That is crazy.
Insane to think about. But yeah, moving on from that, big extensions for all those quarterbacks. 2020 class is just one of the best. One of the best, if not the best. I wouldn't say the best, but it's getting close.
They have a pretty good argument for top 3.
Yeah. Moving into the NBA, it's really only Olympic stuff, so Olympic national team stuff. Big games for USA this past week. I think it was on Sunday, they played Serbia. Great game, very fun game to watch against Serbia.
Yeah.
South Sudan, another great game, a big matchup from what they had in an exhibition game not too long ago. Talking a little bit about group play. But before we get to the group play talk, what are you thinking about how they played against Serbia or South Sudan?
Well, Serbia, it was a little concerning at first. They started slow. Serbia jumped out to 10-2 lead. But the USA quickly got the lead back after one, so that calmed my nerves a little bit. And it was really just the KD show from that point. Didn't miss a single shot in the first half, so that's relieving to have that offense there. No start for Tatum or AD, so that was concerning.
Yeah.
still because Embiid shouldn't be the starter, and Tatum we all thought was the starter, but maybe not now. KD ended up with 21. Booker had 11, and I loved him starting at that 3.
Mm-hmm.
And then LeBron with 21. I mean, they did what they were supposed to do, and the biggest difference was like the 3-point shooting. USA shot 56% from 3, and Serbia shot 24%. So I feel like that's the biggest difference, and they did what they were supposed to against Serbia.
Yeah, kind of going off the same thing. We were tweeting back and forth. I mean, it was. You got to start to question now. Who is the number one guy on that team? Because KD really started to put.
We might have to start talking about that. Yeah,
KD really put a good argument in there. Like you said, shot perfect in the first half. Only missed one shot the entire game. And I thought was a great presence off the bench. You know, when he came in, he had that huge block that kind of turned the tides a little bit, led to a fast break, and caught a big lob there that kind of just continued to swing the momentum. He finished with 11 on 4-6 shooting, steal on a block in 19. LeBron was LeBron, 21, 7, and 9 at 90 years old. I mean, it's just never going to stop. It kind of felt like in this game, watching it, it felt like, you know, the roles were starting to kind of be understood. People knew, you know, what they needed to do. It wasn't going to be like a... And I feel like that kind of happens when KD comes into play. When KD comes into play, don't shoot the ball.
Yeah.
You give the ball to KD, and he's going to shoot that shot. Because more than likely, he has a much, much better chance of making it than you do.
For sure.
So I think that role kind of started to settle with everyone. You talked about it. USA shot the lights out, 62% from the field, 56 from 3. They kind of held Jokic to 25 and 8. He had 4 turnovers in 31 minutes, a little uncharacteristic, I guess you could say, turning the ball over a decent amount. But they did really good defensively in the second half as well, holding Serbia to 35. I think they do kind of need to clean up the early game a little bit more because, like you were talking about, you know, Serbia starts out on a run. Even when we were able to kind of retake the lead, it just felt like we were making dumb passes, you know. We're trying to pass the ball.
Lots of turnovers, yeah.
Just kind of tossing it to the guy across half court, and then the defender's right there, able to just grab it. Finished with 17 total turnovers. I don't know specifically how many of those happened in the first half, but I would say...
I think it was a good amount.
Yeah, I'd say
it was
probably...
like 12.
Yeah, it was a lot of turnovers in the first half. Best lineup right now, what would you say it is?
I don't really like a 2-guard lineup, so I'd go Curry, Booker. If we're going best options, I would just go KD and then LeBron and AD.
Yeah.
I think. Is that who you would go with?
That was a single player off. I said Steph, AD, KD, Bron, and then I had Anthony Edwards.
That's fair.
Just for a little bit. I think you could swap Anthony or Drew.
Yeah.
You know, you're getting kind of a little more into that 2-guard lineup when you put Drew in there, but I think the defense that he brings is really good to that front court or to that back court. I think Anthony Edwards, though, he brings a lot of defensive intensity, and you're probably getting a little bit more of an offensive game from him if, you know, they try and somehow they're able to single cover everyone else. Anthony's probably going to have a mismatch.
For sure.
But yeah, I think that would probably be either of those lineups would be the best lineup.
Oh yeah, Booker and Ant are pretty much interchangeable. I just feel like Booker's had a couple better games in the last 2, but
yeah,
that's more recency bias maybe than anything else.
This guy doesn't watch ball. Casual, man. Going against South Sudan, big rematch there after the scare and exhibition play. So I had this in my notes because I thought it was kind of funny. Jason Tatum did not play against Serbia. Big deal. He talked about how humbling it was. It was kind of funny what he said. He goes, win a national championship, get a big payday, get on the cover of 2K, Sports Illustrated. Not trying to diss that. I mean, that is a big deal. I'm not on the cover of 2K, but it was kind of like, that's a weird thing to highlight, I guess. Yeah, and not be like, yeah, you know, play really well in the playoffs, blah, blah, blah. Oh, I guess he didn't really play too well. He played pretty good in the playoffs. He played
all right, yeah.
But he didn't play against Serbia. Everyone made a big deal out of it. So Steve Kerr was like, all right, fine, we'll start you. And he continued to not play in this next game against South Sudan. He played his role. I mean, he had 4, 5, and 2 and a block with the turnover. He shot 4 shots. Like I know he's probably not going to take the most shots, but it's kind of like,
Right.
come on, man, 4 shots. Both of his Celtic teammates scored more than him.
That is crazy.
Derek White had 10, dude. 10 points. You couldn't do that? But yeah, that was my big storyline from South Sudan. I just wanted to kind of throw some shade towards JT.
My biggest takeaway was Anthony Davis finally started, and that is good to see.
Yeah.
I am glad we have the best centers for the FIBA game starting.
Mm-hmm.
And that showed with AD being a menace defensively and Bam ending up with 18 points at a game high. But there was a lot I noticed from this game, mostly the bench play. By halftime, it was 40-5 in favor of the USA. So that was really good to see. South Sudan was already down 19 by halftime, and they were only down 19 because they had 11 offensive rebounds somehow in the first half, which was a little wild for me to see. But
Yeah.
it was really cool once the second half started to see like the platoon switches that Kerr was really going with. I like that a lot better than just trying to implement one player here and there.
Yeah.
I think it works better. But USA's offense kind of sputtered there in the third. They had 10 points in the first 7 minutes of the third quarter, which allowed South Sudan to kind of stick around.
Mm-hmm.
They figured it out, and USA scored like 7 points in the last 3, but that's a little point of concern.
Yeah.
But they did win, and they locked up a spot in the quarterfinal. So all around a good game.
Yeah. I think the defense in the second half, or just the defense in general, most of the game, you talked about it. They had them at 36 at halftime. It's a tough first half to have. They held them to 42% from the field, 38% from 3, and it's just, if you're going to do that, you could maybe do that in an NBA game if you have a team and maybe have a decent shot of winning.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to do that against Team USA.
No, definitely
it's not going to happen. They also forced them into 19 turnovers. I think that's that plays a huge role when you're finally able to bring that defense in and stuff. And yeah, it was big time.
Yeah, the fast break, I don't know what it was, ended up total wise, but at halftime it was 16-4 USA. So like they were already running by halftime. So
yeah,
that was good to see.
So yeah, good signs from the USA men's national team. Group play in general, I think, has just been fairly fun to watch so far.
Very fun, yeah.
I would say Group B and C are kind of sticking out the most. Which group would you say is the best or the toughest, I guess?
That's a tough one. I honestly think I would go with Group A, which has Canada, Australia, Spain, and Greece.
Mm-hmm.
Just because Canada, Australia, and Spain are pretty loaded. Spain is a little bit of an older team, but the more experienced one, especially in FIBA play, they have a lot of silver and gold medals. But I feel like when your worst team in your group is one that features Giannis, that's a pretty good group.
Yeah.
But that would be the one I would go with. Who would you say is the toughest?
It really was a tough pick, bounce between all of them, because you can look at each one and you'll see, like, Group B, the biggest thing that stuck out to me was it seemed like the defense, at least from the top 2 teams, was better than I know at least what ours had to offer. Like
That's
Group
fair.
C's. It might have been better than Group A's too. They just, I think it was France, maybe? I don't know. France, just the defense that they had and the point differential that they were able to create. It was just they were holding their opponents low. They weren't scoring a whole lot, but they were just doing a good job of keeping their opponents down. And when you have, the front court players in that group are ridiculous. You got Wemby, you got Gobert, Batum, the Wagner bros, and it's just the front court in that group is crazy. I'm probably going to go with Group C just because it was like I could have gone with either of them. I think Group A is a great argument too because I kind of said if any of them is going to be the biggest threat to us, like any of those teams, it's probably going to wind up being Canada.
Yeah, I think
it's just
so.
The NBA talent on that team.
Germany has
is
Dennis
otherworldly.
Schroeder too, so like that's
Yeah.
a big name for them to have. And I think Group B is a little top heavy with Germany and France.
Yeah.
Brazil and Japan, I don't see as much of a threat to them in that group, but I could be wrong.
Yeah. But yeah, I'd probably go with Group C, I guess. I just think the U.S., I guess toughest, maybe they aren't the toughest group, but I think it would be, the hardest to kind of lead out of those because it's just the U.S. team. It's just, you were talking about it with Kerr switching the platoons and stuff. It's such a deep team. And then after that, I can't remember who's second in the group. Whoever was second, though, in the group, I still had phenomenal numbers that they were putting up. So, but yeah, all the groups this year, I feel like they're very, very well placed.
So, Colton, what have been your impressions of USA basketball so far?
So, I have only really been able to see the highlights this week. I've been working at the Y'alls. Logo somewhere on the hat.
Nice.
Cold hat.
Yeah, dude, I love this hat. But from what I have seen, I mean, it's what we expected from the Avengers when they were assembled. A year ago, I suppose. So I'm not really the least bit surprised with what I've seen. When you guys were talking about the starting lineup, I personally really like Drew Holiday in that starting lineup because that allows Curry to be off ball because Drew can play the point. So, and obviously the defensive intensity he can bring. So, I would like to see more of that. But yeah, I think this team is nuts. Group C by far just is the best. Although Group A definitely is the deepest of those groups for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, the Canada team, I seriously think poses a threat to USA. The more I watch them, the more Shea could just go off for 40, and next thing you know, you're down. So,
For sure.
I think Canada is probably our biggest threat, but that's not to sleep on Australia either. Spain's always a good team. Like you said, they were older, but they've always been kind of like a team that poses a threat just because of how they play basketball. So, all in all, yeah, I think the Olympics, Team USA has definitely turned another notch here, and we're not quite as worried about what we saw in the exhibition games, all of the South Sudan game where we went from losing or winning by 1 to blowing them out by like 20. So all in all, I've been pretty unsurprised by what I've seen so far.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it is. I think this is probably going to be, I don't know if I'd say it's going to be the best Olympic basketball because I can't speak for,
Right.
when I wasn't born, but I think it's definitely going to be some of the most entertaining just because of how, how many NBA players there are internationally. Like every game's not going to be, you're not going to walk into a game and just be like, all right, well, this is easy. We're going to blow them out by 40. But moving on, we have the 3-on-3 team.
Surprise to me.
This was it features Jimmer Fredette. I think most people will know Jimmer Fredette, the legend of him.
Absolute legend.
Absolute legend.
Absolutely.
Monster at BYU. But yeah, you sent me a post the other day of the 3-on-3 team, and you said, who are these guys? And I'm going to be 100% honest with you. You sent me that, and I thought that was a corporate picture. I was like, these are not basketball players. These are salesmen.
I was like, they got Jimmer and some guys from an old Navy casting call. Like, this is definitely not a real basketball Olympic team.
Yeah. But yeah, Jimmer's on that team. We got Canyon Barry. Do you remember Canyon Barry at Florida?
Not at all.
Oh, man, dude, I remember him. It's Rick Barry's son.
I did know that, but I did not remember him at Florida at all.
I remembered him at Florida for some ridiculous reason. I think it was probably because he also shot underhand free throws. But yeah, he's on the team. But yeah, they're not that good.
Yeah. Let me just take you through some of the results. Against Serbia, lost 22-14. Against Poland, started down 15-9, got it down to 2, then gave up an offensive board with 5 seconds left, and didn't foul. Great play. Against Lithuania, USA was up 10-6, let it get tied, and then lost 20-18. Against Latvia, they played hard versus the defending champs for sure. But they were up 19-17, which is 2 points away from winning.
Yep.
And they lost 21-19. Then versus France today, they were being dominated early and actually came back to get their first win. So shout out to them and Canyon Barry, who hit the game winner to let USA win 21-19. But yeah, I was under the impression that only the women did the 3x3 tournament because I had no knowledge of this team at all.
Yeah. So that's your breakdown of the 3x3 guys. I hope you guys weren't hoping to get a lot of coverage on this because we will not be doing much.
I just have a question about it because I'll be honest, this was mystery to me. I knew the women's thing was happening. So is it just one game or do they do like multiple?
They do like group play, kind of like the regular 5-on-5.
Right, but so we're going up against France and it's just a game to 21.
Yeah, and then
That's interesting.
the game doesn't actually stop. Like when you make a basket, you have to pull the ball out of the rim, check it behind the 3-point line, and score all within 12 seconds. It's a fabulous
insane.
game.
Yeah, it's interesting because if they're trying to do what's the word, street ball, everyone goes best of 3, right? You got to have more than one game. So I feel
that's a good point.
I feel like that should be added there. So that's what I thought it was, but as you just told me, that's not the case.
I feel like you could market the 3x3 a lot better if, I don't know, maybe a crazy concept. Put the NBA players in there.
Put somebody other than Jimmer Fredette's rotten corpse,
who hasn't played in the NBA since 2018. So maybe, I don't know, the 3 people who could have been on the USA team, like a Kyrie, Tyrese Maxey, maybe a Chet even, that'd be cool.
Oh, that team would be ridiculous.
Yeah, maybe let's not send these people out here anymore.
Yeah. Here's the thing, too. If, we're losing some close ones. I mean, we are getting obliterated in some games, like we did against Serbia. We are having close ones. Imagine what actual basketball players would do.
Imagine somebody not on a national team having to guard Kyrie in an ISO. That's not fair.
That's going to be the Old Navy cash call. They're going to be like, what? This guy's a real basketball player. He's going to...
I think they play for EuroLeague teams and stuff. Yeah, not that I've seen so far. I haven't seen any NBA players, but I feel like there are some countries that could definitely put some out there.
Yeah.
But I can't really talk about their play because they're killing USA, so...
Yeah, I guess we got to win something, Not going to be beating our basketball team this year.
But yeah, moving on to the WNBA side of the Olympics, USA in their first game played Japan. What were your takeaways from that game?
It was a really good game. I mean, these women, we talked about it last time. Their win streak is ridiculous. Because it is just, there's really no competition. There's really nothing that's going to be putting them in a whole lot of trouble.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was the Belgium game, was it? That was kind of a close one.
The second one, yeah.
Yeah. That one was, I think, a little bit more interesting to watch because they're all interesting to watch. I'm not trying to say they're not interesting to watch.
Right.
But you get into this aspect of, college football sometimes when the team is this team is probably going to beat them by 50. Why would I watch the second half of this game? That's just kind of the point they're at with that. But it's a good thing. I mean, AJ Wilson is obviously still the best on the team. Ionescu has stepped up a lot. She has shown her growth. She's shown her, ability to be, the number one guard and stuff like that. You're just really getting everything that you need from each position. You don't have to worry about the gelling factor and stuff like that. I don't feel as much. It's just a lot of everybody knows their role. They know their game. They go out there and they put it on display.
And I feel like one big thing with it being the WNBA, there's less foul baiting in the WNBA, so they're used to the physical play that FIBA kind of requires.
Yeah.
So there's no adjustment period there either. But yeah, like you talked about, Asia's been great. Stewie's been great. Mm-hmm. They combined for 46 points in this game. And the women just continue to be the most dominant team in sports. They're going for their 8th straight gold, which would be an Olympic team record. But Japan hung around in the first half, which was surprising to see.
Yeah.
They made it seem like every three. 18 of their 24 points in the second quarter came off of threes. So that was wild to see. They finished the half shooting 40%, while USA finished 1 of 12 But USA kind of just turned the water off in the second half. They went up 20 and never looked back.
Yeah.
But undersized Japan team tripled the USA in fouls and were out rebounded by 30. I feel like that's the biggest difference there is their side. I don't think they even had anybody 6 foot, honestly, on the team.
I saw the pictures of Brittany Griner down in the post. Come on, man.
I'm surprised she didn't have 50 this game, but
yeah,
that's okay. I'm not the coach.
That was, I'd be like, that's one of those things where it's like, you're going out against Katie Ledecky.
Yeah.
And it's the 1500, and you're like, why am I competing in this? I'm not going to win. I know I'm not going to win.
Right. You're shooting for second place at best.
Yeah, you're hoping something good, something breaks your way. But yeah, it was a great game against Japan. I didn't get to watch the game against Belgium.
Mm-hmm.
I caught like the tail end, and then I did watch the highlights and stuff too. But from what I heard, that was a great game. It looks like Brianna Stewart, she played a great game. AJ Wilson played great. I think Brianna Stewart's defense was probably, if it wasn't the best on the team that day, it was some of the best. Finished with 3 blocks and a steal. But what did you kind of take away from that game?
Like you said, they've been great together. The 2 past MVPs teaming up. Like I mentioned, they got 46 combined in the first game. They got 49 combined in this game. Belgium was a much taller team, so they had to deal with that a little bit, which I feel like is what kept it close.
Mm-hmm.
And Julie Van Loo also was a spark of offense that they needed. She went on an 8-0 run by herself in the first quarter. So that was interesting, but Stewie had 11 of the team's first 15 points, so she got off to a hot start. And then Belgium only had 8 points in 7 minutes in the second, and that's kind of when it went the wrong way. They were able to still keep it close, but that was thanks in part to Asia and Stewie being the only starters that scored in the first half, which is definitely not what you want.
Yeah, got to step that one up.
But both teams shot poorly in the first half from 3. USA 2 for 9, Belgium 2 for 13. But a big part of the scoring, the lack of scoring, I should say, for the USA was Chelsea Gray, and she was hampered by some type of injury. Hopefully it's not a lingering one, but they don't call her the point guard for no reason. She is able to distribute and get those pieces around her, open shots, and it was very evident that she was not there, that she was not doing that for them.
Yeah.
It was a 7-point game after 3 because of that, and I feel like USA went into a lot of isolation basketball, which is not a recipe for winning at that level. But then an 8-2 run to start the fourth kind of put USA where they wanted to be, and they never let up from that point. So that was good, but if Chelsea Gray is hurt, I might be a little concerned.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that's such a key part to lose on your offense when you have these stars. Not that they don't have other good guards on their team, but when your best players are playing in the front court, it's tough to lose the best backcourt player probably on that team. Yeah, I mean, USA nearly doubled, what Belgium had in total rebounds. They almost tripled what Belgium had in offensive rebounds. They shot better than them. I mean, they shot nearly 36% from 3. Belgium didn't even shoot 19%, so I don't know if that's like hey, we shot better than them, if it was just like, man, they shot really, really bad from 3.
Really bad, yeah.
But, yeah, it was just, I guess it's better to have it this early, have a struggle that early and kind of be tested by a team, with more height and stuff like that. But, yeah, they're still killing the game. Still the best. And then we have 3-on-3 games. There's been some of those going on. What have you been able to take away from what's happened so far with that?
Well, we will go through some of the results again. 3-by-3, they started with Germany, and it looked promising. They had a hot start in that first game against Germany. They were up 5-0, but ended up losing 17-13. They played Azerbaijan in the next game. The USA was up 2 with 2 minutes left, but then Haley Van Lith traveled while unguarded and gave up a wide-open layup for the win. So we kind of at the point then, and we're like, here we go again. It's the same thing on the other side. Australia was tied throughout they forgot to foul down 1 with 5 seconds left, so they lost 17-15 in that one. But then there's been a turnaround in the last 3 games. Against Spain, they were dominant throughout. They won 17-11. Against France, they had a 3-point lead with a minute left and kind of faltered a little bit there at the end, but De'Erica Hamby was able to get a layup with a second left to win 14-13. And then today versus Canada, they had a tight game that went to overtime where Ryan Howard hit a 3 to win it, 18-16. So they're very much in the thick of things now in the standings of the 3x3. So they may not be one of the top 2 to get straight into the quarterfinals, but they'll definitely be in the play-in. It's looking like now, so that's good to see.
Yeah, it's huge to have Ryan Howard on that team. I know we were talking about, like, who do you possibly replace her with when, like, if she doesn't end up playing, but, she played big time today, and it's just awesome to be able to have that luxury.
Yeah, she's the best forward in the league, so it's very good to have her on that team.
Yeah.
I'm surprised she's not on the national team, but that's neither here nor there. Colton, what have you seen from USA national team, either 3x3 or 5-on-5?
I was curious. You were saying that you could be worried about with the injury on the, I guess, 5x5 team.
Mm-hmm.
What team do you see as the biggest threat to Team USA in the women's?
To Team USA, it's probably Germany, because they have Leonie Fiebich and Satu Sabali, who just put up, I think it was 33 on, I can't remember, I think it was Canada they put it up on. So that would be my biggest concern, is because they can score whenever they want to, really. And if we have isolation offense, I don't think that's going to be too promising looking forward.
Yeah. You guys pretty much said everything that I could have said. Asia has looked like the WNBA MVP just as she does in the WNBA.
Mm-hmm.
Stewie had a great game. Was it Belgium was our last game?
Mm.
Yeah, so she went off there. And Sabrina looks like that nice complementary piece. Brittany Griner's obviously doing Brittany Griner things. So all in all, yeah, this team's coming together just like with the men's, as we would expect. I do think the injury is kind of concerning, but at the end of the day, I could still see him winning it regardless.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So now we're getting into the Olympic storylines. Alex, there's been a whole lot going on this week. It's been a very, very busy week for the U.S.
For sure.
What have been your favorite storylines or outcomes so far?
Top of my list, I would say, is Suni Lee medaling in the team final and then the individual all-around final. She was battling kidney disease and 2 types of kidney conditions that kept her from being able to train. She basically had to learn from start to finish how to be an Olympian twice in one lifetime. So it's just really inspiring to see what she's been able to come back and do. And the other 2 things I have, one is Leon Marquand. I don't know if you've been seeing him, but the French swimmer, everybody's proclaiming he is the next Michael Phelps, and he has done nothing but to prove that.
Yeah.
3 golds so far in 200-meter breaststroke, butterfly, and then the 400 individual medley. So he has looked superb in every race that he's been in, and I can't wait to see how he finishes up these Olympics. And then the last thing is also in the pool, but the Australia versus U.S. rivalry. I've been loving seeing that because obviously there's been trash talk both on the men's and women's side.
Mm-hmm.
Ariana Titmus beat Katie Ledecky in the 400-meter freestyle, so that was hard to see because we're always cheering for Katie Ledecky. But
that was a good one too.
She is Titmus is great at what she does. But USA overall is doubling up Australia in overall medals in swimming. So I think that's a W for the USA.
I think so. I think that's very, very fair to say.
What have you been looking out for?
Oh, the biggest thing, huge shout out to men's gymnastics.
Fair,
really putting them on. They get the bronze. It is their first medal since 2008.
That's awesome.
And it seems like this team is just really, obviously they're excited to be, compete. I think more than anything, they're just really excited to be there. Mm-hmm. And as a fan, that just makes it fun to watch because they are You know, it's not like it's like, oh man, like, you know, they're locked in, but like at the end of it, it's like they're just, you know, walking out there like, yeah, that's my dogs. Just gonna go hang out with my dogs and stuff. I'm probably gonna say his name wrong. Steven Niordisic. I can't remember. It is appeared to me that he is the equivalent of like a Justin Tucker, bit of a closer.
Mm-hmm.
He sits on the bench and he steps in and he does what he needs to do, and he is really, really good at it. He was on that gymnastics team. He had the goggles. I don't know if you saw any pictures of him.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he is apparently that dude. So they put me on game, and I'm happy to see that. Same thing, swimming. You know, it's still ridiculously good. Carson Foster took the gold in the 200-meter individual medley. 2 women medaled in the 400-meter IM. U.S. women got silver in the 4x400 freestyle, like you were saying. Some of the men got gold. I think it was the 4x400 men's freestyle as well.
Yeah.
That I was watching, and they did really, really well. Can't think of the guy's name, but he was the final swimmer that went through, and he did really well. Ledecky, I watched her 1500 meter, and I think to say she dominated is a vivid understatement.
It surely is, yeah.
It's just like she tears it up every single time she's out there. And then same thing, women's gymnastics, still extremely, extremely good. It is kind of funny to see some of the comments former gymnasts have. I'm not going to say names.
Forgot to bring that up, but yeah.
Just kind of saying, oh, they don't seem like they want to do it as much, and they seem kind of lazy, and they seem like they don't want to put in the work.
Not disciplined, not talented.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
If they're not talented, then I would love to see what that Olympic team was looking like before, because this team is ridiculously good.
It's almost like the one who commented didn't end up with a team final medal when they were in the Olympics. But anyways, neither here nor there.
So what are you looking forward to most this week? Another amazing week of the Olympics.
How the Australia versus USA rivalry ends in the pool for sure. But track heat started today, and Sha'Carri Richardson already looks in top form, and I cannot wait to see how that goes. Along with Noah Lyles, even though he has made some, comments in the past, I am still going to support him, and I can't wait to see how he does. And then basketball, of course, I'm now excited that the 3x3 team on the women's side has turned it around.
Yep.
So I'm excited to see if they'll medal, and then just if anybody can knock off USA. What about you? What are you looking for?
Mostly the same things. I'm really excited to watch track. I think that's going to be fun to watch. Richardson's got not so much to prove, but I think there's people that she kind of wants to shut up while she's
for sure.
happening to be running at the Olympics. Noah Lyles, same thing. He's going to have a lot of eyes on him, as he usually does. And I think he's probably just going to be Noah Lyles. He's going to go out there.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be flashy. People aren't going to like it. And then he's going to win. And then people still aren't going to like it. But you know what? He wins.
That's true.
Archery, I've always thought it's kind of fun to watch archery. I think there's some going on today. No one really specific. I don't know a whole lot about it. It's just a fun thing to watch.
Yeah.
Badminton, that's going on this week.
Can't miss that.
Talking about it a little bit last week. I was talking about hype for the badminton. Gonna check that out. Volleyball, that's always super fun to watch. I feel like it's just that's probably one of the things athletically that I watch that I'd be terrified to step out and play volleyball against these Olympians. Terrified.
I've sat on the sidelines of the NKU games. I'm terrified just to sit there.
Yeah.
As hard as they hit it, it flies at you so fast, and you're like, I'm gonna die today. This is not what I want.
Die courtside at a
But it's really cool
game,
that the Olympics have sand volleyball and indoor volleyball, so you get as much as you want. It's awesome.
Best of both worlds. So introducing a brand new part of the podcast today.
Mm-hmm.
We're calling it the post-game presser. It's where we kind of talk a little bit. We'll show a video. Today it's highlight tape edition. So today we'll be showing either our best, highlight we saw of the past week, or one of the coolest athletic feats that we saw of the last week. Really whatever we want to do. Post-game presser, we'll talk more about that, like what the main post-game presser will be when we get to it. But Alex, what's the highlight tape that you got to show us today?
Well, Colton, if you're ready, we have some rugby 7-on-7 action to show you here in the bronze medal game. USA down in the final seconds to Australia, but not before a absolute truck stick by
That is
Alex.
disgusting.
A great name, by the way.
A little bit of bias on this
She
one.
just takes it, the truck stick, and then takes it all the way to the house to win for the rugby's first medal. They got bronze, and that's the first American rugby medal that they've ever had. So that is my play of the week for sure.
Rugby is fun.
It is.
Rugby is a really fun sport to watch. Definitely will never be playing that because if I play against someone who has a lick of skill in that game, I will probably die out there on the field. Look at that. Sitting there by herself. I mean, she could have probably popped up a chair and eaten a hot dog and watched everybody else finish that race.
Yeah, she's getting dry before the people are even finishing the race. Like the others, she's really kind for hosting these Olympic races to see who comes in second. Like,
yeah.
It's great what she's doing.
She's really putting on for everybody else that wants to try and, I guess, just get
Come
some
in
swimming
second.
time in or
Yeah.
something. Yeah. She probably could have sat at the other end of that pool in that last lap and just, like, taken a couple deep breaths. Hey, coach, give me some water. I'm good to go. I'm going to finish this
Yeah,
up.
she won that by 10 seconds, won the heat by 17 seconds.
It's insane.
Imagine preparing your whole life and then getting lapped at the thing you prepared your whole life to do.
It was funny, too, because the announcer was sitting there before that, and he goes, now, I don't think she's going to win it by, like, 20 seconds or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, you weren't too far
I remember,
off.
yeah.
I'm going to tell you right now, you weren't too far off. But, yeah, that's our highlight tapes for the week. Ledecky dominating, and then rugby getting the first medal and just putting on a show for everybody that was watching. Alex, did you have any final words that you wanted to say before we hopped off of here?
Not that I could think of. You got anything?
No. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode.
Yeah, that'll do it then for this week's episode of the Beyond the Score podcast. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at BT_the_word_score, and then YouTube at Beyond the Score 123. Big thanks to NKU Media Services for letting us use this studio, and for myself, Alex Perez, Matthew Supinger, and Colton Smith behind the scenes. We appreciate him. Make sure you give him a follow and a listen over on the Benchwarmers podcast as well.
Yeah.
But we will see you all next week.